Hi, and welcome to Chapter 5, which talks about the important role that public relations plays in management, outlines some of the steps that are necessary for creating a public relations plan, and deals with different aspects of how to budget for it, talks about some of the different roles that a public relations practitioner plays within a organization or agency, and probably what a lot of you will be interested in if you're career minded as far as public relations goes, talking about the where the jobs are, and of course the question, just how much does it pay. Start off talking about the role that PR plays within an organization, and I think probably the most important thing to take away from that is that a successful organization, no matter how large it is going to be one where the role of the public relations practitioner is one where they are seated at the main table with the rest of executive management. Public relations people need to have a direct line to the CEO or the head of an organization. I like how Seitel says that the PR person is essentially the corporate conscience of an organization. They are the ones who have to ask the tough questions sometimes when decisions are being made, to be there and say, okay, how is this going to affect our public? And the public is both the internal and the external people. Here in my job as the director of marketing and communications at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, I have the opportunity to be on what's called the Chancellor's Cabinet, which is the group that's made up of the chancellor and the various vice chancellors at the university. I'm there as well to listen in as things are discussed that might impact the university, to say, okay, how is this going to impact our faculty, staff, and students? And how is this going to impact our external stakeholders, ranging from donors to the media and so forth. So good organizations are ones that are going to recognize that the PR people need to be there and be there actively and being a part of the discussion. The chapter goes on to talk about, starting on page 87, to talk about some, and really in fairly basic terms, of how to set up a public relations plan, how to implement a public relations plan, and how to budget for public relations. And though the example given, I think, is one that's geared towards a larger organization, if you're involved in PR for any type of sized group, I think some of the basic ideas that are involved there with putting together a plan can be applicable to really any organization. I like page 93 that talks about the duties that public relations practitioners play and all the different responsibilities that can be associated with them. If you're practicing public relations here within Fairbanks or within Alaska, with the exception of some of the larger organizations or corporations such as Alyeska or ConocoPhillips, etc., you'll find that you wear a lot of different hats as a public relations person. It's not just handling the media relations. It's not just handling the internal communications. It could also be the government relations. It can also be some of the different marketing and advertising components that go along with PR. PR people, especially here in Fairbanks, wear a lot of different hats sometimes. So the more skill sets you can develop, I think the better you'll do in this industry, here in Alaska, where you're being asked as the main PR person, as the main communications person, to be able to handle a lot of different responsibilities. This chapter also talks about the role of the internal public relations department versus that of a public relations agency. Just because a corporation has its own internal PR shop doesn't mean it's not going to rely upon the expertise of some outside PR firm. Again, I'll use the example here at UAF. We do have within my department a fully staffed, fully functioning, and well rounded PR department. But sometimes we really need to rely upon others, upon professional PR agencies to come in. The value of that is that they're able to look at things through different lenses, given an outsider's perspective. Here at UAF, and I'll provide links to some of the different PR agencies that are out there in the state, we do a lot of work with the Northern Agency, which is a wonderful professional agency that's based out of Anchorage. They've come on board to do a lot of advertising campaigns for us. They've got an expertise in some areas that we're just not able to provide. And again, they kind of come in and look at it from a different outsider's perspective, bring in some creativity and some information that we might not have working internally. Now, what's the downside of working with an external agency? Well, probably the big one is the cost. External PR agencies tend to cost a lot, but you hope that that's going to be an investment in what you're trying to do, and that there will be some sort of return. Chapter, like I said before, the chapter talks about where are the different jobs out there in PR today. And then the good news is, if you're interested at all in making this your career, it's an industry that is not going to go away, and it's one that is going to increase in the years to come. And that's a good news. More and more corporations are realizing that, how our public perceives us and how we portray ourselves to our publics it's more important now than ever, because of social media, because of what consumers and others are able to do as far as sending information out. And this includes starting up, rogue websites. Great example is the Walmart Corporation. Do a Google search out there and you can find what I refer to as rogue websites. These are websites that are started up by unhappy consumers who've had a bad relationship with the corporation. So you see unfortunate websites such as walmartsucks.com and others that are out there that allow consumers to be able to, by means of a viral marketing campaign, to really do damage to the public credibility of organizations. And organizations realize, a good way for us to manage this is through having good public relations. And finally, the chapter talks about the salaries involved with public relations, but then also talking about the increasing role of women and minorities within the field. I know, as someone who's involved in public relations here in Fairbanks and in Alaska, when I go to different workshops and meeting with my colleagues, I'm pretty much outnumbered as the white guy in the room. More and more women are being involved. The Public Relations Society of America, looking at the conferences I've been there before, there is definitely an increase, and we're finally seeing some balance and the scale tipping a bit as like I said, just crusty old white guys like I just aren't the only ones in the room, and that's a good thing, because that means that public relations is doing a better job of representing the true face of America. So that's chapter 5 in a nutshell. The case study for chapter 5 is the infamous Exxon Valdez oil spill. Be sure to, I would read that one, even if it's not the one you're going to answer the question to, because as Alaskans, Exxon Valdez, of course, is not the best moment in Alaskan history, and this is a great classic example of what not to do in public relations, the way that the Exxon Corporation responded. So even if you don't plan on answering the question to that one, be sure and read it. And that closes off chapter 5. We will see you in chapter 6, which has to do with the very important issue of ethics. See you then.